Hi, what's going on guys? It's Almond. Welcome back to another Wizard101 video. Today's video, we're going to be talking about the balance changes that are coming to Wizard101. Give you guys my thoughts and opinions on them, because some of them were kind of interesting, some of them are kind of like but that's kind of how like all spells go. Whenever certain spells come out, you know, you're going to have some hits, you're going to have some misses. So yeah, we'll talk about all that type of stuff for balance in this video. If you do enjoy this type of content, as always, leave a like, subscribe, all type of stuff. Join Discord. Appreciate everyone that joins the Discord, and I appreciate everyone that leaves a comment on the video. It helps out with the algorithm quite a lot more than you realize. So let's start off with Nested Fury. Now, Nested Fury didn't really get changed for its top path, right? Because of course we're getting introductions for these spells, but if you were going to have a path A, yeah, path A is just a traditional damage increase. That's just usually how it is. But on test room, I really didn't get to test this spell because, guess what? The path B was bugged on test room. For some reason, the negative aura was 99 rounds or some absurd amount because, yeah, I don't know what was going on with the new arc spells. The positive negative auras were just for some reason 99 rounds and you couldn't get rid of them. So that's what everyone was telling me. So I really didn't get to test out this spell in test room, but we do luckily have the spell writing tiers. But basically, path B, what it would do would do balance damage, which would be 550. It's a select target, so if you want to select multiple targets, there is some use behind that. But keep in mind, it will do less and less damage to those targets. So kind of like divide, but select targets a little bit more forgiving than divide would be. So keep that in mind. But it would also put a negative aura on the person that you attack, which would give them a minus 30% negative aura for 4 rounds. Now, when I first saw this spell, I thought there would be some sort of use because Lulu kind of has the same thing for death. Cthulhu has the same thing where it's like a hit in negative aura. Now, if, you know, of course, if I got to test the spell, maybe I could, you know, prove my point here. But I'm hoping what it does is it will work as if I hit multiple targets, it puts the same negative aura without getting diminishing returns, meaning that the aura doesn't just get split to 1 round instead of 4. I'm hoping it stays as 4, but this can be a really good spell if you're really like in a, you know, advanced combat type of fight, which I could see in the future, or if they're doing so much damage, having a negative aura on them would be nice. So you can use this to, I don't know, break multiple shields, and on top of that, put a negative aura on all of them so you don't take as much damage. I feel like that's some really good usage, but we'll have to see when it comes to that for advanced content. But for PvP sake, I don't know. We'll have to see how many people are actually using this spell for PvP because it is 6 pips. But hey, we'll have to find out, and you know, all you PvP players can let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, that's Nested Fury, kind of straightforward. And let's move on to the next spell. Next spell that is getting changed is, of course, Sandworm. Sandworm's getting its tiers as well as getting changes. It's getting a bottom path and top path, of course. But the top path, it currently says divide on test realm, or at least when I recorded this video. But I don't think it's going to be actually divide. I think they're going to be just making them select targets, of course. But I'll be honest, I really don't think they should be select targets or divides. I think just make the Mirage spells all AoEs, 4 pip AoEs that have a Shad pip on them. I really don't think it's going to like kill the game or anything like that. But I'll be honest, even if it is, you know, an AoE, don't know how often I'll actually use this spell. Time will actually tell if I will be or not. Because you always got to think, how often are you actually packing Shad hits in casual PvE while you're questing? I feel like the majority would say that they probably aren't, but there probably is like few that, you know, don't really, you know game mechanics and just pack them because they just think it looks cool. So there's that. But with the addition of the tiers and everything like that, we do get a bottom path for Sandworm. And now what it's doing is at max tier, it's a select target. So keep that in mind. You can use this on multiple targets. Just remember, it's going to, you know, not really divide the damage, or it's kind of like split the damage, but it's going to be more forgiving than divide. It's not going to be a complete 50% divide. It'll be a little bit more. But essentially, if you were to using this on a single target, it would do 365 and then put 2 traps on them that are 40%. Now, of course, the more targets you select, you can put 2 traps on each individual target, which would be kind of interesting. But I feel like if you select multiple targets, I think the spell might bug out a little bit, because when I was testing out this spell, the animation like double played or triple played multiple times. So hopefully that gets fixed eventually. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but yeah, it just activates multiple times for some reason, just animation wise. But there's that. Now when it comes to advanced content, you're not going to be seeing me use this at all really, unless for some reason maybe like a hit into a 40%, but that's just me being like kind of like forgiving in a sense. But I'll be honest, I probably won't use this, but PvP players will have their own take on Sandworm as a whole, so we'll have to see about that. Now we move on to the Scions. Now, Scion of Balance, right? There has been some talks of people wanting the change to be made to the bottom path condition, because currently, or at least how it is in regular advanced content, or I'm kind of stuttering on my words. Advanced content is that the advanced content Scion would do more damage if the enemy has 11 plus pips. Now, there are certain people who want to get this change and have some sort of conditional, but honestly, I kind of enjoy the Scion being a conditional of, hey, if this target has 11 plus pips, you get punished and I'll do more damage. That is just free value. I think it's perfect. I think it should stay like that. But for the bottom, or for the top path, I mean, the gambiting 6+ blades, yeah, I don't know. I'll be honest. No, I don't really use Scion of Balance in casual PvE. I think honestly, what I probably would do is probably use the pip conditional instead of the blade conditional, right? And I know it will be a little bit harder to set up theoretically because gambiting blades is pretty easy. Just put 2 elemental blades, you're good. But I feel like the pip conditional, it might be easier to set up at certain points. I don't know, maybe I'm weird for thinking about that. But the Scion itself, you don't really pack it in general anyways. You're not really using Path B, or I guess advanced content Scion in general in advanced content. I know some people use it for PvP, but for PvE, you're not really using it. Now, there were points where people used it for the Azteca raid, but the only reason you would use it is if you didn't kill Hanao or for some reason. And then some people would just have Scion of Balance on their deck. I don't remember which form, which priest has Scion of Balance in his deck, but yeah, you can just use that, and that would just like kind of be like a finisher in some sort of sense. But that's beyond that. I've never seen really people be like, hey, we need to use Scion of Balance in raids or something like that. So who knows? But realistically, all they did was just add a tier 4 and 5 and then increase the damage of the conditionals, which is pretty crazy to see, especially the Path B doing 1960. That's kind of insane. But yeah, that's Scion of Balance for you guys. Now we move on to Mockenspiel. Now I did like Mockenspiel. When I did PvP, I did do balance PvP for max level. I never went to Warlord because I never dedicated that much time. I think at most I did like a couple of matches because I always wanted to do balance PvP. I would always watch Devo do PvP and kind of got me intrigued of wanting to do balance PvP, right? But just over time, PvP was not for me, right? But there was a point where you just spam Mock and Shield. They would also use the Pyramid spell. When Pyramid was broken, it's still somewhat good, but when it was like busted, when you get like a pip back type thing, yeah, Mockenspiel and this would just, they were just hand in hand. They were hand in hand. But yeah, Mockenspiel got changed. So what they're doing now is the Path B is now just 2 weaknesses and does 470. It drastically dipped in damage. But I mean, hey, that's what they're going to be doing. If we're going to be removing the Shad for, having a utility, kind of makes sense. And as well as just the base spell, as long as with the top path, it's no longer going to be having that random blade or the random weakness, because now Path B is just a guaranteed 2 weakness. Well, Path A, you're not really going to be using. I mean, it has a good amount of solid damage, but basically it will convert your Spirit Blades or Ellie Blades to regular blades. You get 3 of them. Now, I don't know what the percentage is exactly, because I didn't get time to actually like full-on test Mockenspiel. But yeah, even then, I really probably wouldn't be using Mockenspiel anyways, for questing or anything like that. It's very rare, like I said in all my videos, very rare for me to use a Shad spell unless it's like some sort of cheese or like it's actually needed. Then it would be a separate topic, but realistically, I'm not going to be using Mockenspiel. Just a top path specifically. For Path B, I feel like we'll still see some usage because it's a hit in 2 weaknesses. It's still some usage, but we'll see. We'll have to see if people are just going to be using Lore Master more instead, or if people are actually going to be using their Shads on stuff like this, or people are just going to be using Dark Surge or Shrike. Who knows? We'll have to see about that. But that's Mockenspiel for you guys. It's kind of just, it's there. Now we move on to Old One's Endgame. So basically what they did was they brought back the old ones endgame for path A. So they got rid of the bombs. It's no longer having the bombs on the top path, and now it's a convert. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. That's the best way to put it. It's interesting. It's kind of interesting. They brought it back. But realistically, let's focus more on the bottom path, which is it's going to be a select target, as well as it's going to do 560. If you just select one, of course, it would, do, you know, a certain amount of damage to multiple targets, as well as it's still going to do the bomb, but the bomb is no longer 5 rounds, it is 3 rounds. And they also increase the damage of the bomb, which is 270. But of course, if you are increasing it from 2 to 5, the bomb doesn't get increased, but the actual hit damage does get increased. So there's that. Like I said, with other spells, don't know how much usage will be behind this, because the original old ones endgame, at least path B, it would be 2 shads, but it would be doing 780 at tier 3. This is 560, but keep in mind you have 1 less shad on the cost of it, so that's something you have to keep in mind. But we'll have to see what more people think about old ones endgame, and if it will have some sort of usage. It's a really nice animation, don't get me wrong, the animations of old one endgame, it's pretty sick. I like the idea of it, but just don't know how much usage will be seen with Old One's endgame as a whole. We'll just have to see. And then finally, the last spell that did get changed was Gaze of Fate. Now, Gaze of Fate, what it originally did was it would do 350. Well, it would basically do a balance hit, and then it would do a random school hit, and then it will give you a bounce bubble. But now what they did was, for advanced content players, is now they lowered the damage of the spell, as well as it's no longer a question mark hit, meaning just a random school hit. It is now a chromatic hit. So if your enemy is a fire, it will do bounce damage and then do a fire hit. If your person that you're attacking is ice, it will do a balance hit and then an ice hit. So kind of interesting to see with this whole chromatic business. I guess time will tell on how people feel about Gaze of Fate. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the randomness aspect. Maybe that's just me. But I guess if they want to go back to the whole chromatic business, I can understand where they're coming from. But still, I kind of like the question mark. That's just me, though. But that is it for all the spells. I feel like balance kind of just was balance. I mean, that's realistically it, because it's just one of those schools. I mean, it's the only school that just uses a lot of the other schools' hanging effects. It's kind of like a mixture. So there's that. I feel like I don't know how Wiz would be if balance didn't exist, just because every school has its own separate hanging effects. So balance is that mesh of all the schools. So it's kind of interesting to see. But that is it for me. You guys let me know what you guys think of the balance changes. I think as a whole, I'm not really like insanely looking forward to the spells for balance that I'm going to be using. I don't think there was like one that I'm like, oh my god, other than Nested Fury. And the only reason I'm saying that is if I use this in like, if I select multiple targets and I can put 4 negative auras on all 4 targets essentially, and they all last 4 rounds, I can actually see some usage behind that. But that's about it. Beyond that, I don't really think anything will be used for PvE other than just increasing the damage for the top path. But like I said, with all these shad hits, how often are you going to be using them? That's for you to decide. And that's just if you want to take longer on your fights. That's something you have to consider. But that is it for me. Leave a like, subscribe, all type of stuff. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. And then, of course, join Discord. Appreciate everyone that joins the Discord. But that is it. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys.